but everything in life raises you, right? You know, your parents do their very best, but TV is a teacher, your friends are a teacher, society is a teacher, your neighbors are a teacher, and life teaches you, books that you read, everything is a teacher.
We don't want to give time to uproot the roots and do the dealing that we need to do, so then we become a soft church because we're now tiptoeing on everyone because everyone's so sensitive.
Everybody's so sensitive.
Because nobody will do the work. Not nobody. Let's regroup that. I don't want to say it that way.
First of all, Jesus, we say he was a carpenter because that's just a really nice way. He was more than that. He was a skilled worker back then. So he did more than just carpentry work and working with wood.
I've got a teenage son and I'm like, God, I only know so much. I can't teach him how to be a man.
That's right.
I need someone to come in and impart
100%
godly wisdom. And so we're blessed to have that.
Just like the Hi everyone, welcome to In the Middle. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Tiffany.
And we are so excited about this episode. To some, we have the girl down the street, but I like to call her royalty. We have the one and the only Juliette Ross in the house.
Welcome.
I'm so glad to be here.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
And I told you, there are people, and I read their bios, but there's so much, so I want to actually talk with you about your bio. Because you're a businesswoman, you're a wife, you're a mother.
Yep.
You're you're already launching Mentor You University. You just renewed your vows. So much to talk about.
So much.
So
let's get in.
So I'm just so excited. I know that I was telling you our paths, we've gone in and out of different places. And I mean, I'm in the moment here.
Yep, we're here.
Too. I know you're here.
I feel like I know her, but you know.
We're all BFFs. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so out of everything, let's talk about what is your favorite thing you're up to just right now? There's so much.
My favorite thing? Gosh, you're asking the wrong woman that, because everything I'm doing is my favorite thing.
I mean, you're living your best life.
I am living my best life. Here's the thing. I tell people all the time, I live my life doing my hobbies and I work a little on the side.
Oh, I love that.
Right? So I am a hobbyist, right? I love to garden. It's one of my favorites. I love to build things, doing carpentry work. It's one of my favorites. I love that. I love sewing. I love doing all kinds of things.
Come to my house.
I know. A lot of projects.
And I love business. I love business and I love supporting small businesses. I'm here for enterprise. And I just believe that God is in all of it. And I love leaders. I love talking to leaders. There's so many things and they're all my favorite. But I balance my life out by doing things in different seasons.
Yeah. I love that.
And so it's seasonal at time. Right now, I'm launching my Mentor You platform, and that's what I love, and that is my focus right now. But when I'm not doing that, I'm picking the tomatoes out of my garden, and I'm making sure that my babies are watered, and you know what I mean? And I'm looking at my she shed in the backyard, like I'm gonna get back in there in a minute. Another odd hobby of mine that nobody really knows, a little fun thing, is I flip pianos.
Wow.
Whoa.
What does that entail?
I know. I got a piano off of Facebook Marketplace because Facebook Marketplace was made for me. And I got a piano. It was free. No. It was $125. They sold it from a Jewish synagogue.
Oh, wow.
They wanted to get rid of it. And I was like, I want a piano in my foyer because that's what you do at an empty foyer. You throw a piano in there. And I got this baby grand, and I was like, I'm so happy. And it was just the standard brown. There was nothing special about it.
And do you play? Does someone in the family play, or you just like to watch?
We just practice.
Okay,
we just practice. I am no aficionado at all, but I love music so much. I love music. And so I was looking at the piano, and I thought, I want to let this match the house.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, how much does it cost to get this thing polished up and look like really nice? And somebody said, oh, that's at least like $6,000, and that's like for one color, and that's not even anything else. I was like, I'm not paying nobody no $6,000 when I paid $125. Right. So my mindset is, I'm pretty sure I could do this myself, right? So DIYer here, just begin to take that thing apart. And I began to polish it, and then I just made it my own. And I love the process so much. I said, sweetheart, I need a she shed, and I need a she shed so that I can flip my pianos. And
that's, pianos are. I play piano, and I have a baby grand.
Yep. They're big.
She shed is not a little she shed then if you're having room to flip.
I got me a little she shed where I got 3 6-foot doors so I can get my babies in there.
It's a big she shed.
Yeah, so I could put, it's a 12 by 10, so I could put 3 great baby grands in there at once. And so I have 3 in total. And so I take one at a time and I make them my art, but they'll look like a piece of art by the time they're done. So it's just my own
That is amazing.
hobby that I enjoy doing. So it's no different than an art piece that you look on a wall. So this is just what I enjoy doing. I enjoy it. So.
Is there things that you, like aha moments along the way? Even
100%.
I know it's fun and stuff, but are you having, what's the Lord downloading to you as you're redoing these?
Oh, all the things. Well, the pianos are one thing. First of all, Jesus, we say he was a carpenter because that's just a really nice way. He was more than that. He was a skilled worker back then. So he did more than just carpentry work and working with wood. But, you know, it's so detailed. And you have to know so much, you have to learn the woods, the details of the woods, the grains, like they take the things differently. You know what I mean? They're just like people. It's not one size fits all. Every piece of wood is different. You know what I mean? Some reacts differently to chemicals. They're a lot like people, you know, like we're just all different, and so are trees. When I'm in my garden, the Lord speaks between the peppers and the tomatoes. He just does, right? And the different, you know, that there's different roots in the ground, and some of those roots are different sizes. And sometimes as I'm digging in, or if I am trying to turn over the soil, I'll find some roots that are in the way. If I want to plant something, I'm finding some deep roots that are in the way. And even as I think, well, I'm digging deep enough, like I don't want to fool with these roots, because believe it or not, they're strong and they're hard and they're annoying. And it's a reflection of sometimes roots in our life that we don't want to dig up or we don't want to pull up. They're hard, they're strong, and they're annoying, and we don't really want to deal with it. And so even many times when I'm gardening, I have to think, do I want to fool with this root right now in this garden? How bad do I want to plant this right here? And if I want to plant this particular plant or fruit or vegetable, it's going to need the room to grow. And so I'm going to need to dig deep and put in the effort to pull up that root. And once you pull up the root, then the area becomes free and clear for new roots to grow in. And so it's just like us in our life. If we don't take the time to dig up some of these hard roots that have aged in our life, that are stale, that have grown strong, they would have kept us bound. And nothing else can grow fresh fruit. Nothing else can grow in our life if we don't get rid of some of these old roots that we had.
Wow, that's deep. I love it.
No, I'm like, and welcome. Thank you for watching. We'll see. I don't even know. My brain's all over the place. That was powerful. That's so
Thank
good.
you. Yeah.
Because you're mentoring us right now. I mean, just you speaking is teaching. So how did you get into this mentoring space? Did you start with great parents, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so of course, I have a great mother. She raised me. She raised 4 kids by herself for a long time. She was married for 20-something years, and then they ended up getting divorced. And so she ended up raising the rest of us by herself. And but everything in life raises you, right? You know, your parents do their very best, but TV is a teacher, your friends are a teacher, society is a teacher, your neighbors are a teacher, and life teaches you, books that you read, everything is a teacher. But my mother taught me a great principle in life. She doesn't even quite remember. The reason why I think the way and I process the way I do and how I become mentoring is because many years ago, my mother used to say, when I was 5 and 6 years old, she used to say, Juliette, you know, your dad is just your dad, but you have one father, and that is your Father in heaven. And I would say, okay, Mommy, you know, no problem. And then 8 months to a year later, I'd be 6 years old, and she'd say, Juju, remember this, your dad is just your dad. He's just your earthly dad. But you only have one Father, and that is your Father in heaven. And I'd say, okay, Mommy. And I'd be in school, and it'd be a random Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and she'd pick me up. How's your day, Juju? Mom, good, Mommy. Juju, remember now, your dad is just your dad. But you only have one Father, and that is your Father in heaven. I'm 5, 6, 7 years old, and what that did to me was, I said, why would she sit here and distinguish that? Like, why would she tell me that? There must be something to it. What you're saying is, my earthly dad is my dad, and he's there and he's not perfect, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's going to do things that maybe I don't like or that are hurtful. But my Father in heaven is not him, and he's different, and he would never fail me. He would never hurt. He would never do anything to disappoint. So, okay, my dad on earth, he's human, and he's going to make mistakes. And okay, so will people. And you know what? We're human, and so we're going to fail and we're going to disappoint. But I can always rely on my Father in heaven because he will never do those things to me. And so that shaped my entire perspective throughout my entire life. And that was the takeaway that I took from her saying those words to me. She didn't break that down. That was just how my little brain at the time interpreted. And so as I got older, that is how I have viewed the world, and that is how I have viewed people. And that is, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to fall. We're all going to fail. We're all going to have something that causes us to collapse or hurt or be hurt. But I know that there is a Father in heaven who is the healer and who can heal and who can restore. And so in life, as I've grown up, I've had many people in my life teach me and guide me in certain ways, shape or form, some good, some mentors, some bad. And yet I'm here today. And now, as we've done business and we've done ministry, I've been a part of many amazing ministries throughout my life. And some I'm so grateful that I've had the experience, the years with. And now it is like, how can I give back? You know, I've always mentored people throughout life. But we just live in a different society than 10 years ago, than 15 years ago, than 20 years ago. And I can feel and see where we're going, and we're not doing really good. We're just not doing really good. We're not doing very, very good as a church. We're not doing very, very good as society. And sometimes it seems as the church, as much as I love the church, we were pastors, right? But we can only do so much. And sometimes even churches, the pastors, they know what they know. And then when they don't know what they don't know, then they don't know. We can't fault them for what they don't know. But at the end of the day, too, I just feel like it is part of my calling. I don't know, it'll take me a lifetime, but I feel like if I can do my part, we can help change the generational mindset and shift where we are. And I want to make sure that we are not offering this next generation a weak church or a weak faith, because the God that we serve, he is the faith that we believe in, that Jesus died, rose, and was resurrected on the third day. That is the faith for our sins, and it is not a weak faith. But if you look at how it is presented nowadays, it seems a little bit watered down, and that's because our soul isn't as anchored as it should be. And we go as far as we can go. But my passion is, how can we take people deeper into the Word and deeper into this faith? And it takes a lot of things, right? So there's our anchor in Christ, and then there's practical things. How do we apply the practical things that we need to apply, and how do we apply spiritual things, right? So when do we apply faith, and when is it like, well, no, it isn't the devil that let your car stop on the road. You didn't change the tires. You didn't put gas in the car. You didn't get the car maintenance.
Well, that goes back to those roots thing when you're talking about we don't want to give time to uproot the roots and do the dealing that we need to do. So then we become a soft church because we're now tiptoeing on everyone because everyone's so sensitive.
Everybody's so sensitive.
Because nobody will do the work. Not nobody. Right. Let's regroup that. I don't want to say it that way.
There are some people that don't want to do the work.
That don't want to do that. So let's go to...
It's hard. It's hard to work. But I'm going to go back to what your mom told you because, oh my gosh. So my husband passed away 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
And with Father's Day, literally a couple of days, I was on a walk this morning and just, praying to the Lord and just asking, God, help me. This isn't going to be our third Father's Day without him. But as you're saying those words, because it's something that's the scripture that the Lord has given me is I'm a father to the fatherless and a defender of the widow.
Honey.
And that is so true. And I was like, I'm going to tell my babies that because their dad was amazing. But they have a father in heaven who's always been their father. And so that's the basis of it all. And then putting those people in our lives. There's been people in the natural who have stepped in to mentor. I've got a teenage son and I'm like, God, I only know so much. I can't teach him how to be a man.
That's right.
I need someone to come in and impart 100%. Godly wisdom. And so we're blessed to have that. But as you're saying that mentor to me, that spoke to me, because I'm like, that is so true. We have to remember that God the Father is our Father.
It
always
is the truth.
Has been, always will be.
That's right.
That's the pinnacle of it all. So,
well, it is the truth, and that is how I've just seen it, and I've been able to separate people and the way people are from the way my father is. And he's been the anchor, he's been the anchor. But we all need mentors. We all need people to help guide us in different areas. And I can give you all that I have, and I will still fall short for what somebody else needs, right? And so at different seasons and different times in your life, you may need different things. You know what I mean?
So good.
If you're starting a business and I've never done business before, well, then I'm going to run short in giving you advice and guiding you along the way if I don't know. But if I can connect you with somebody who is a successful business person, they've had their pitfalls, they've had their successes, and they're doing well, and they want to share with you of how you can win, then this is a no-brainer, right?
Yes.
If you are a new single parent and it's hard raising the kids by yourself and you just need some advice or some guidance, and how do I do this, or how do I raise a teenager, and you've never been there before, and yet I know somebody over here that, like, you know what? Their kid is not your kid, but if we can band together and let's have a tribe let's raise these kids together, then why don't I want to connect you? I do. And so that's why I think we all need people. We need people. There is a scripture that we all use, and everybody puts it to marriage. And you go to church, we only isolate God in this scripture to marriage when it says it's not good for man to be alone. And we always say, so then he made Adam and Eve. But God is not narrow-minded to just marriage. As important as it is, he's saying it's just not good for people to be alone.
Community is
Community.
essential.
We need each other. And so when we are having a dark time, or we're going through grief, we're going through isolation, we're going through mental torment, if we have a loved one, if we're going through a bad marriage, that they're going through depression, we don't know how to handle them, they're going out, they're doing drugs, whatever the case is, we need help, right? So when one person is doing something, there's collateral damage that we feel the effects of. We need some help, and they need some help. And so you need people in your life. You just can't do life alone. And so what was on my heart to build was a platform to be like, let's put all these people together.
Amazing.
And it's a platform of mentors in all these different areas that is like, when you come into the platform, you got access to all of them. You have access to all of them. Whatever it is you need, there's mentors for a whole year. They're going to walk you through life every week. Live interaction. It's not recorded videos. Like, they're there in your face to keep you accountable.
Oh, that's amazing.
So good.
Your health, your finances, your personal growth, your spiritual growth, whatever you need, that's what we're doing. And I just feel like if we band together, we're going to have a stronger, better community.
And to me, that's what the church should be.
It's supposed to
We
be
should
intended,
be
yeah.
all coming in together. And I've seen the church in action through, the last 2 years of immense grief, but people having to come in, not having to, being willing to come in into my space and be that community.
That's right.
Help me out when I'm trying to raise a teenager, when I've got a baby still in diapers. There's just so many different things going on.
100%.
But no, even if you're not in a season of like grief or something major, you could be, like you said, starting a business.
100%.
Or financially trying to get, established to buy a house.
That's
There's
right.
so many different scenarios where
100%.
we need that leadership and guidance.
We do. Or if you're coming out of school, do I go into corporate America? Do I go to college? Do I start my own business? Or you have a lot of people who are creative individuals, right? I consider myself a creative. You're a creative individual. You have all these amazing ideas, and then you have no business acumen. Right? You're going to deliver an amazing product, but can't deliver it on time.
Wow.
Right? And oftentimes creatives struggle with having the lack of business structure. And so now who guides them?
Don't you think part of that is, there's a commandment, love your neighbor as yourself. Now, I don't know if it's because people are loving themselves really bad. But we love to talk about overseas and the children overseas, and let's go overseas and let's go on the mission trips. And that's so good. But we don't step outside to that address right next to us. So I think just even before COVID, but especially with COVID and since then, this isolation and all of that, and then just hoping you'll figure it out. And obviously we have the internet, and it's a blessing, but I can find all the information out I need, and I don't have to call people as often or whatever in that culture. And then our kids are getting raised under that. I have a question. Because obviously, and we haven't talked about it yet, but spoiler alert. So Juliette is married to the one and only also Mr. Tim Ross, who we all love. So
I love you, baby.
Yeah, I love that. So you are a leader and a mentor. in this business space and in ministry. And he's a leader and a mentor in the business, in the ministry space. What is that like? Because that's a powerhouse, but I would assume there's some really strong things about that, and then maybe it can go the other way sometimes. So, I mean, you just renewed your vows. So tell us all the things about two amazing people together. What's that like?
Thank you. So, we've been married 25 years. So that is super, super wonderful. And of course, we've had our highs and our lows. But we communicate a lot. I mean, we over communicate, and we know where each other's strengths and weaknesses are. So if I'm aware of what his weaknesses are, I'm not about to be mad at him for it.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, pause though, because
that's really good.
I mean, whatever relationship, that's easy to do though. So you say that real like, I know what his weaknesses are, so I'm not going to be mad at him. Where most people be like, I know what they are, and he's not changing.
Well, if we're talking about it in a working business aspect, right? I can't make him be something he's not, right? And if I know where his strengths are, I celebrate the strengths. And if his area of weakness is my area of strength, then I do it. So why get mad of an area that he has a weak limb in?
Were y'all always like that? Or did you have to?
Well, at first, so at first we didn't understand that. We would just get frustrated like anybody else, but after 25 years, you're supposed to grow. Right? So if you're still saying mad at the exact same thing, then y'all aren't growing. That's just marriage, right? So you have to take the time to communicate to each other. So in the areas where I just literally in 10 months built what I think like 7 businesses, right? I did it with tons of joy and excitement. It was fun. I had no problem. And we did that with having our dad, our father-in-law in the hospital, and then going through hospice, taking care of him all the time, and then going through the burial, then doing the funeral, doing that, and then also planning the wedding afterwards, and then trying to manage everybody's grief, and still grateful to do it all. Right? And where to some people, maybe that can be very frustrating and that can be overwhelming. But for me, it's my strengths. So I'm operating in all my strengths. And so none of it bothered me, right? Now, you have to understand who you are, and you got to understand how the other person is and how this works. And so even as I'm doing all that, Tim's not building those things. That's not his strength. But I find joy in doing that. Where he finds strength and where his joy is sitting in front of that camera and doing his podcast every Monday. He loves it, right? He can jump on a plane and go. Well, because I'm building infrastructure and I'm doing this and raising the kids and doing all this kind of stuff, I don't have time to jump on a plane every 2 seconds. I have to be very strategic on where I go and what I do and pick what I pick. So we time manage our life, we communicate, and we're not mad of what our strengths are, nor what our weaknesses are. And so we support the weakness, the other person, and we maximize our strengths. And so, again, it's understanding one another. And so, of course, it takes time to get there. But if I can shave off years of you fussing and fighting and like, you know what I mean? Then that's what I'm here to do. See, mentoring. Let's get these marriages together. Let me shave off 5 and 10 years of y'all fighting and complaining about something that's not going to change. How can we look at this differently? How can we change your perspective?
That's so healthy. Even just in friendships, I was thinking of my kids. Like I have 4 kids and they're so different. So being able to see the strengths and call that out instead of expecting one child to do something that is just not a strength or even 100%. A gift from the Lord. But I think so many times we want people to be who we want them to be. That's right. And that's not.
And have the attributes that we have. Correct? Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Well, okay, so you mentioned the wedding. So you're around a lot of couples. You're around a lot of, I'm assuming if you're around a lot of couples, you're around a lot of marriages and a lot of divorces and a lot of singles waiting to get married. And so y'all's journey, I mean, there's obviously must have been highs and lows because you've been married for a while. So just the beginning of getting, redoing your vows. Let's talk about that. What led to want to do that?
Well, so this year is 25, and Tim's parents would have been married 50 years, and we both are married in May. And so from a year or 2 years ago, I think at this point, we would have been planning, we started planning to celebrate our weddings together. And so we were going to do a dual wedding of 25 and 50 years and walk down the aisle together and celebrate that. And so we had been planning that for years now, and then knowing that it was coming. Even last year we knew that it was coming. And so you can only celebrate 25 once.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I love it.
And so I'm a person that is like, we celebrate. We celebrate every day. We celebrate yearly birthdays. You know, some people are like, oh, I don't celebrate. I only do milestones. Honey, you better be lucky if you make it to the milestone. You know what I mean? You gotta celebrate. Tomorrow's not
so
promised. You better celebrate every day that you can. And so I waste no years. We celebrate all month. We celebrate all year.
And let's talk about that dress too.
Oh,
amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you. So, you know, in the beginning of the year when Dad got ill, you know, we were still hoping that he would be around, you know, and so his health ended up declining rather quickly. And so, and as you all know, that he ended up passing away in February. So then after that, it was, you know, I would still love to do the ceremony. If you do, like, how do you feel, honey, about it? And how does mom feel about it? You know what I mean? And so she definitely still wanted to, because 50 years, you only get that one time. And so what we did was we honored them, and we still did it. She was happy. You know, Tim was, at first was like, okay, we're going to do it. And then of course, grief emotions, they go up and down. And it was like, okay, let's do it. So I planned that thing in 2 weeks.
Wow. Yes.
2 weeks, we got it done. And we still honored Mom at the wedding. We put Dad's picture up there. And so she walked out and she kissed his picture. And so we had that time and we honored her. And
Get me teary-eyed.
Yeah, sobbing.
Yeah, and we celebrated and we honored Dad because, you know, although the guest of honor wasn't there, you know, we wouldn't even have that gathering if he wasn't, you know what I mean? If it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
And so we honored him and we honored her, and then we partied and we celebrated. And so we wanted to make sure that we can show our kids, you can have something to attain to. You know what I mean? Like, we do marriages in this family. We don't run away at the first sign of something hard. I tell them all the time, and I tell people all the time, yes, you can do hard things. God will never ask you to do something impossible. He'll never ask you to do something that you cannot do, but he will ask you to do hard things. Yeah. And then he does the impossible thing.
I used to say early in the grief journey, I would say that I can do hard things.
Yeah,
because you're faced with so many things, as you know, when you lose someone, whether it's like making arrangements or just different decisions. And I'm like, I would just tell myself, I can do hard things.
That's right.
Through Christ.
That's right. That's right.
The Spirit is leading me, I can do hard things.
That's right.
So
that's right.
I love that. And it also teaches your children, it's something I've tried to teach mine during this season, is there's always something to be grateful for.
Yep.
There's always something to celebrate.
That's right.
In the midst of pain and
right.
grief, there is still joy.
That's
if
right.
we allow it.
That's right.
Some people shut
if
off.
we allow it.
That's
like, right.
This is it. And some people ask me, like, "Are you done? Are you giving up?" And I'm thinking, "No.
Yeah.
I've got to keep fighting."
That's right.
For me and for my baby.
That's right.
That.
Yeah, absolutely.
Showed them that in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
And with mentorship, I think people can get hung up on that word where a lot of people are not going to start a university like you do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just living their daily lives are mentoring by their actions. And I think, obviously, you have this university that's going to touch so many hundreds of thousands to millions. We'll prophesy millions of people.
Come on, bring them.
Yes,
Jesus.
Lord. But you just even renewing your vows, and y'all are open about a lot of things, obviously, and you're in the front lines and people see y'all. That shows that, to your point, people don't have to get divorced. And so that is mentoring people, is where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
And I always say that, like, whether, you know, people run away from so much when life gets hard in the marriage space, and I've seen it so much, we've all seen it during COVID especially, and it's like that people, you need to stay together because someone's going to come behind you with the same problem. And if everybody's running off getting divorced, which I know remarriage can be good and blessed and all the things, so I'm not downing that, but we need people to stay in the game and stay in the hardship and not quit early for the generation behind us. And again, I think the beauty is it shows God really does use everything for good. He can use that third marriage or whatever.
For sure.
But if we had more first marriages, how amazing. That was God's obviously original intent. So I think that's beautiful. And there is such a thing for people that are called to be leaders and pastors, and we know that's a gift. But then someone that's watching that thinks they're just the average Joe, let's say, sticking in your marriage is mentoring?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because it's easy to want to sign up to be mentored. Like,
Yes,
please come help
exactly.
me. But it takes someone stepping up to say, hey, I've walked this road
Yes.
before you,
Yeah.
and I will mentor, someone behind me.
Yeah.
And I remember being on a walk a couple months after losing my husband, and a couple of widows who I didn't know before
Yeah.
he died, because I wasn't in that circle.
For sure.
But they came alongside me, and one in particular gave me so much hope. She was one of the first people to say, your life can be good again.
Yeah.
You've got to go through the
that's
pain,
so
and you've got to go through the processing, but this isn't it. The best is yet to come. She spoke that to me. She gave me a sign that said the best is yet to come.
Wow.
And I remember being on a walk and just praying and crying and just trying, because it was a very sudden death, my husband's was, and just really traumatic. And so I remember telling the Lord, I said, God, when the time comes, I promise you
Yeah.
that I will reach back and I'll help another widow, whoever you put in my path. And again, at the time, I only know those
Sure.
two, and she was 50, so a couple of decades older than me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know who these widows are going to be,
Right.
but I'll mentor them. God.
Right.
Well, wouldn't you know,
Wow.
about a year and a half after losing him, and where I was in a healthy place,
Right.
and I felt equipped,
Yep.
and I had it in me to give back. God put before me 3 widows that were my age, in that
Wow.
same 30-ish.
3?
Yes. And so we have been able to just, and one of them, I'm like a year ahead of her in her journey, another one just a couple of months.
Wow.
And we were together. I was with one of them last Friday. She brought her kids over and we went swimming.
Really? Oh.
It has been not only, I hope, a blessing to them, but it's blessed me too.
That's right.
Because I'm like, okay, God, you took something that was horrible,
Yes.
and you're allowing me to give back and be
Yes.
a light to someone
Yep.
when that was done for me.
Yeah.
And so it takes someone to be willing to be the
That's
mentor.
right.
Well, it takes
in that
eyes
position.
open, because another widow could have had just as many people around, or even in your situation had desires in their hearts or even opportunities, and kind of you just looked away and you didn't take that opportunity. So I think that's a huge, amazing thing of discernment on y'all's parts, of listening to the Holy Spirit and leaning into that.
Yeah.
And I think
because there have been a couple of people that I felt the Lord like they're not for you to mentor, because they
Right.
were on the same path.
That's
they didn't
right.
want to go the way of healing and
Right.
life being good. And no judgment. It's
For
such a
sure.
hard thing. I pray for those people, but
That's
you
right.
have to listen and allow the Lord
Yep.
to give you the people that
That's
you're supposed
right.
to mentor.
That's
to,
right.
Because it can be really draining if it's
It
not
can.
the right person.
It sure can, and not everybody's in the ready.
Yes.
Right.
The ready
Exactly.
headspace to receive,
Exactly.
and everybody's in a different spot. Doesn't mean that they won't come back around at another time, but you have to be mindful and sensitive of where they are and where you are as well. So no, that's amazing, and I think to your point of saying you didn't know that a year later, you would be pouring back in. God is a sower. He tells us to sow, but he doesn't always tell us how that looks.
Right.
He doesn't always give us the details of what that looks like.
Right.
And even to the point of being married and staying married, I want to dig a little deeper in there just to say sometimes people's marriages are unhealthy and it's hard for them to stay, right? And so people don't necessarily know how to be married. And that is predicated on how they even got married in the first place. A lot of times people are just being married because they like the idea of being married. They just like the idea of being a bride. They like the idea of saying, I'm a wife or I'm a husband, but they don't really know the work that it takes to stay married.
Right.
And they put a lot more effort into the ceremony and the day of than they even do put in the work of their marriage. And so now, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years later, when they're getting divorced or having all these troubles, is because they never really put in the work of the marital unit, and they were just intoxicated with the idea of, I'm married.
Right. Yeah. I mean, no matter, like you do the pianos, or if you're grieving or marriage, like anything good, it's going to take work.
It's going to take
being
work.
an Olympian, it's like, it's so easy to watch them and be like,
That's
oh,
right.
it's like so much fun. But that's all these people do for
right.
years when the
That's
Olympic
right.
Games aren't even happening. Like anything
Exercise,
good,
exercise, yes.
work on. So I think
That's
it's
right.
important. Like you said, I think some people just don't even know where to start. They don't even, or they don't feel like it's even attainable. So
That's
to have
right.
someone be like, I was there.
That's right.
And you can get here.
That's
But
right.
it's going to take some stuff out of you. You're
That's
going to
right.
have to put in the work.
It takes a sacrifice.
Yep.
It
I
takes a
think
sacrifice.
With the person that doesn't know where to start, there's also that whole group that they don't need it. They've got it together.
Sure.
It's not their fault, or they're just good.
Sure.
So as we wrap up, the person that doesn't know where to start, or the person that thinks they don't need it. And I'll just say, if you're the person that thinks you don't need it, you need it the most. So we'll just throw that out to you. But where can people go to learn more about this university? And what are, I know you mentioned there was a ton of topics. Is there, what are the main ones, or are there like kind of?
They're all main. Nope.
Okay.
They're all main. Yeah. Thank you. Because they're just all life, and we're going to keep adding to them. But there are topics for singleness, personal growth, spiritual health and wellness. I have doctors on there that are talking about just your personal health, and women that are going through perimenopause, and men. There's topics on there about sexual trauma survivors and how do you go on and live. They're in there talking about, goodness, what kinds of stuff. Discovering you. Who are you? Who are you without a job? Who are you without kids? Like, who are just you as an individual? I have life coaches on the platform. I have business coaches. We have finance coaches. So, do you want to get into business? Do you need to know how to save, how to retire right, how to do that well? We have In My World, right? So our brand is upsettheworld.com. You can go to upsettheworld.com/mentorship, but you'll see it on there. And that will take you to the whole Mentor You University site, and they can sign up there.
And on the signing up, can you sign up whenever? Is there like
you can sign up whenever.
Sign up day like school?
Nope, you can sign up anytime. It is online, 100% online. In 2 weeks, we'll be launching our counseling center. We have a completely all online therapy counseling center where they'll do group therapy, they'll do individual therapy. We have psychiatrists there that can do prescriptions. If you need very deep counseling, we have all of that, all online.
Bless so many people.
It's called the BALM Counseling Center, BALM. We have our women's ministry that's on there. We'll be doing retreats. I have a special retreats just for pastors' wives, very intimate stuff. So there's everything there for the whole person. It is a massive wellness, wholeness, and discipleship platform. It's a one-stop shop for what you need. And once you get in, you have access to all the mentors.
Okay.
So there's no tiers. I don't believe in tiers. We're not elitist. Once you get in, you have access. You're there to grow and to learn. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to have a lot of people that are on there to get mentored, and how many more people are you producing to be mentors? It's
they're coming.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Multiplication.
Yeah, we've got, we have, how many topics right now? We have a ton of topics that we're talking about. I mean, man, women, children, it doesn't matter. Career and development, college, adults, grief, singleness, divorce, marriage, blended families, all of those things are there. And we are getting all of it translated into multiple languages. So if you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Zulu, Chinese, Mandarin, Indian, we're getting them translated into all the languages. So it doesn't matter in time. You'll be able to get mentored and have it interpreted for you. So.
A fantastic resource. Where can people find you or follow you on social media?
Yeah, so I'm at mentor_Ju on Instagram, and then it's just Juliette Ross as the Facebook page. Okay. And so that's where I'm at, mentor_Ju, or Timmy's is at Upset the Gram. So you guys probably know where that is. Good. So yeah.
Been in that basement.
Being in the basement.
Love it.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you guys. Thank you for having me, for sure. I enjoyed you guys so much.
Is there a kind of a go-to mentorship, whether phrase or something you can leave our viewers with?
Yeah. We're going to just do life together.
I love
Let's do life together, and you don't have to be alone. You don't have to be alone in person, and you don't have to be alone in here.
It's powerful.
That's it.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
This was
you.
so great.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. We'd love for you to make a comment below, and y'all talk to each other. Let's be community online, and let's get together in person too and hug each other. We're so grateful for you, and you can follow us at inthemiddle.tv on the social media platforms. And just remember, there is laughter, hope, and belonging in the middle. We'll see you next time.